is Adam Christopher, and please join me on One Final Twist.
This week on One Final Twist, we are joined by Adam Christopher, New York Times best-selling author. His new book, Crawlspace, comes out March the 17th. Please tell us a little bit about your new book.
Certainly. So, Crawlspace is a science fiction horror novel. It is sort of set in the I call it maybe near to mid-near future, where the crew of an experimental spaceship, which is about to sort of break the light speed barrier, have gone on a test mission, and the test mission goes horribly wrong, and they find themselves stuck between our universe and hyperspace. So, kind of like the crawl space of the universe.
The It's a very claustrophobic feeling book. I read it just a couple of weeks ago, and man, it gives you the creepy vibes.
Well, yeah, so the whole book, yeah, it's about that kind of claustrophobia and that feeling of isolation because this is a crew, I think it's 6 or 7 people in this ship where they are stuck. The inspiration came from those stories sometimes that you hear, the sinking submarine.
Mhm.
We've had stories in the real, news where people trapped in a submarine and it's like they're there, but they're inaccessible and they can't get out. And for me, that is so horrifying, um, in the kind of worst way. So to kind of translate that into a science fiction setting where it's like, well, what if you had a starship that was like a submarine? What would happen if that kind of mission went wrong? And yeah, it's kind of that closeness and claustrophobia and that feeling that like you are stuck, which for me personally is kind of my own horror.
I totally can agree with you on that one. Um, in this book, the lead is a very strong female character. Um, how do you as a man write strong female? Is it based on someone you know, or just what your thoughts are?
Hmm. It's one of those things where I think it just so whenever I write, not just Crawl Space, but like my other books, even I do things like I've done, Star Wars and Stranger Things, etc. It's going to sound really weird, but sometimes the characters just kind of arrive in your mind.
Mhm.
Um, Sometimes you have to go looking for them, and sometimes they just kind of appear. For the story idea, where I knew it was going to be a small crew. One of the whole points of the book is that it's both small horror and big horror. It's small in that it's like it's on one ship. It is like 6 people. It's small, but what they're facing is this kind of huge, cosmic sized horror. So, okay, small crew, and they're all kind of experts in what they do, and they're engineers, scientists, pilots, and honestly, it was like Liv, who's the main character, yeah, main character. I guess she's the mission lead.
Yeah.
She just kind of arrived in my head, and probably there's a bit of people I know in most characters that I create. I'm not one of those people that like definitely bases characters on people.
Ah.
Sometimes I'll name characters, but like I know, and some authors do. They're like, this is my grade school teacher who I'm going to kill in a horrible way in a book," kind of thing. Um, but I'm not like that. It's like maybe there's bits and pieces of people I know, but nothing specific. So for me, it was more, well, she's just good at her job. She's a scientist, and everybody in the crew on this ship, they've been working on this project for several years.
Mhm.
And each of them have got their own specific jobs, which is also becomes important for the story. But for her, she's kind of mission lead and a scientist and did some research and all that kind of stuff. So her being the kind of female scientist character, almost like afterwards, I was like, oh yeah, yeah, she's a she. Um, these characters, as I said, often just arrive.
Yeah.
And probably that makes it, I don't know, it kind of feels more organic, you know? It's not like that's not the focus of what who they are or what they are in the story. They're just like this again sounds pretty strange, but like in an author's mind, they're real people and they start doing things themselves. And that's the point at which you know the kind of the story is starting to work and you're kind of starting to get into gear with it because they start doing things in the story that, I am an author who writes outlines, so I'm a planner. But
Okay.
yeah, when they get into that groove, then you kind of know you're onto the right story.
You're really known in the sci-fi genre. You've written some Star Wars books. I'm not a reader of Star Wars. I'm a fan of the movies and the stuff, but I've never gotten into reading. The How was it to switch from the sci-fi action adventure to the sci-fi horror? How are you able to do that?
Well, for me, that's kind of what I like about being able to do this job. It's like, yeah, you can do a big actiony cinematic Star Wars book. You know,
Hmm.
when I was writing the Star Wars books, I felt like, well, because I'm a Star Wars fan too, of the movies and TV shows and stuff, it's like, what would I want to see if I was going to a Star Wars movie that I created? What would I see? What would happen? What would the story beats be? So I kind of tried to translate that into the page, the written page, which obviously is a very different format. For Crawlspace, it's almost, well, I mean, science fiction, but like it's almost the opposite because it's gone from this huge cinematic thing to this very small
Hmm.
claustrophobic thing. But like that change of tone and change of setting for me as a writer is what makes it interesting. It's like, yeah, okay, let's switch it down to something different to cold, I guess cold horror,
Hmm.
like the
Yeah,
dread. It's all about atmosphere, dread and
yeah,
creepiness and anxiety rather than big scares or, I'm not really, I love horror, but I'm not really into that kind of body horror or, splatter and slasher and that kind of
yeah,
thing. Which is like that's fine. That's like a separate. To me, it's almost like a separate genre. That's
yeah.
some other type of horror. So yeah, I like to be able to switch styles and switch genres. I've also written more sort of detective story type science fiction. I wrote a Stranger Things novel about one of the main characters who's a chief of police, Jim Hopper. So
Yeah.
like, well, that then becomes like a police.
Yeah.
st-
We're
Yeah.
gonna talk
Oh
about
yeah. 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 This.
we're gonna
Oh
talk
man,
about
I didn't see
Stranger Things here in a little
that.
bit. That
But like
that
again,
is
it's like yeah, it's a different kind of story. It's like you
Yeah,
can do
yeah,
a science fiction detective story, you can do a science fiction horror story, you can do science fiction romance. Yeah, you
yeah,
can kind of mix and match and follow the kind of story types that you enjoy. I enjoy reading as much as I enjoy, writing.
yeah. Um, Talk a little bit about the Star Wars books. I know you wrote what the something of the Sith, was it?
Shadow of the Sith, yeah.
Yeah. You can talk about that and tell our readers about your adventures into the galaxy far, far away.
Yeah, well, I mean, the last one that came out was last year was called Master of Evil, which is a
Mhm,
Darth Vader novel. So that's
mhm.
set just after Revenge of the Sith. Because again, so 2025 was the 20th anniversary of Revenge of the Sith,
Oh wow.
amazingly. So Star Wars loves anniversaries. And it had been 10 years since there was a Darth Vader novel. There's lots of comics, and he has appeared in other books, but not as kind of the main character. So we did like a double anniversary novel. And it's funny you mentioned horror and atmosphere and stuff. Master of Evil was my interpretation of, Star Wars as a horror novel
Mhm.
because Darth Vader is actually quite scary. But the
Oh
problem
yeah.
with Darth Vader is we've forgotten that. He's so part of our pop culture
Hmm.
that, people that don't know Star Wars at all still know who Darth Vader is and they know the look and the mask and the breathing, all that stuff. But we forget that actually he's a terrifying character. So to do a book which is set so close to his creation at the end of, Revenge of the Sith, which is the
Yeah.
third of the prequel movies,
Mhm.
means I could really focus on the fact that he's a mystery and nobody knew who he was, and he's very scary. And the dark side of the Force is it can be a scary, dark horror place,
Mhm.
which I had done. So Shadow of the Sith, which is my first Star Wars novel,
Mhm.
that came out in 2022. That was Luke Skywalker and Lando Calrissian, and it was kind of set between um, Return of the Jedi and The Force Awakens. That that huge gap of like 30 years in the Star Wars universe with like there's hardly any storytelling,
Yeah.
and it tied into the sequel trilogy. But again, Shadow of the Sith. It's like I could really go for that kind of mystical, occulty, weird, necromancy type horror of the Sith and of the dark side.
Yeah.
So although that's a big adventure book and it's Star Wars, but it's quite a dark and scary book in places. And then with Master of Evil, the Darth Vader book, I kind of went even further,
Yeah.
kind of because dark, the evil characters are always the fun ones
Yeah.
to do the stories for.
I always, when I think of Vader, I kind of, he's kind of pieced together. I kind of get a, Frankenstein
Mm.
almost ish
Yeah,
vibe, because he's,
yeah, yeah.
got pieces of machinery and other
He's
things that keep him
yeah.
going.
He's a classic. He's a classic monster. Like it goes back to Frankenstein and Dracula as well. Dracula was a big influence on Master of Evil because with Dracula, the original book, he's actually we only see Dracula from the point of view of other people because and we learn that he's very dangerous and evil, and it's all about the impact that he has on other people,
Yeah.
which is how I treated Darth Vader. It's like, well, Darth Vader is scary and dangerous and evil, but it's how other people see Vader and see how Vader impacts the kind of world around them.
Yeah.
But that's classic horror. That's Dracula. That's Frankenstein. It's like all those
Mhm.
classics, which are
Yeah.
classic for a reason as well.
Yeah. Exactly. Talk a little bit about your ventures into screenwriting. I know you wrote a few screenplays for Doctor Who. Is that in my research? Am I
Uh,
correct on that?
So no, not screenplays, but I did. So it's kind of complicated. Well, no, maybe not complicated. Um, I've written scripts. So
Scripts.
in the Doctor Who world, there's a company called Big Finish, which
Hmm.
does audio dramas. So these are fully full cast, full everything dramas, like the old time radio dramas.
Okay.
Um, Big Finish as a company, they've been going for like 25 years. They've done all the Doctors, like, and they've developed their own mythology,
Oh.
which interweaves the TV series and the books and the comics and stuff. So I wrote a story called The Blue Shift Ritual, which came out last year. And if people are familiar with the new series, there's an actor called Sir Derek Jacobi who played the Master.
Hmm.
The Master being, the Doctor's kind of arch enemy. He's a in the UK, he's a very famous theatre actor, and he appears on the TV show once playing the Master, and then he kind of regenerates and the Master is someone else. But Big Finish have a whole series of his version of the Master,
Oh.
and incredibly, the first time I ever read a screenplay, well, not a screenplay, what's the radio audio drama version of a screenplay? I don't
Yeah.
know, a script.
A script. Yeah.
Um, Yeah, like so. This is the first time I've written a script, and Sir Derek Jacobi, one of the most famous theatre actors in the UK, is playing. It's like reading my lines and acting my stuff. And I was lucky enough. I got to go to the recording in the studio. Again, full cast, Derek and half a dozen other actors, and it was absolutely amazing because like I'm a Doctor Who fan, and to see that in person is just amazing. And
Yeah.
I hung out with Sir Derek Jacobi. Never in my wildest dreams would I have imagined I could have done that. But like, yeah, a lot of fun, but also totally different format to books.
Yeah.
This was new to me, and oh, absolutely, it was a challenge. But like, that's good. Like, it's good for your brain and kind of do a new thing, do a new format,
Yeah.
and see what happens. You're still telling a story, but in a completely different way. But
Yeah.
yeah, good fun for sure.
That's good. And the Stranger Things. Let's talk a little bit
Mm.
about Hopper and your
Yeah,
advent because I liked it all, but season three forward, it really resonated with me because I was a child of
right.
the 80s. I was
Mm,
born in 72, so I was a teenager when this is set.
yeah,
And the season three forward just really I really enjoyed it. I connected with the
yeah,
movies and
yeah,
all of
yeah.
the malls and all of that.
It's
Um,
amazing how, yeah, because I grew up in the 80s as well. Like, it's amazing how accurate, or like, I don't know if it's even accurate. It's like it's accurate to our memories of the 80s and whether that
yes,
is actually how they were like or not, which is almost more, it's more the point of Stranger Things. It's like, it feels right, which is
yeah,
why I love Stranger Things. Like, as soon as I saw the first season, I was like, yeah, this is perfect. The amazing thing is the Duffer Brothers who created and wrote Stranger Things, they're actually much younger than we are. So
yeah,
like that is not, this is the weird thing, that is not their childhood or their experience.
yeah.
And yet they managed to capture that. The thing with the book, so Stranger Things, Darkness on Edge of Town, which is Jim Hopper's sort of origin story. So, for those who know the show, he's the police chief in Hawkins.
Hmm.
But before he was in Hawkins, he was in New York. He was a New York City cop. If the whole thing of Stranger Things is the kind of setting of the period and that feel, which is so important for it to work, how do you do a Stranger Things story which is then set in 1977?
Uh-huh.
Um, and if the first time that Hopper encounters the strange and the supernatural and the weird, the first time he encounters that is in season one of Stranger Things, how then do you do a Stranger Things story set 5 years before? Because whenever I'm doing Star Wars or Doctor Who or Stranger Things, I always imagine like if you walk into a bookstore, you see a book on the shelf, it's got Darth Vader on the cover. It's called Star Wars Master of Evil. You think, I like Star Wars, I like Darth Vader, I'm going to buy the book. If you see a straight to that, there's a expectation from the reader about what they're going to get, whether they know the book or not. You walk into a bookstore, you see Stranger Things, you go, I like Stranger Things, I'm going to pick this up. So for the readers, from the reader's point of view, there has to be something about that thing which can only be that thing. So Stranger Things was a real challenge because like it's set in 1977, it's set in New York City. The main character is a main character from the TV show, except at this point he hasn't experienced what he experiences in the TV show. So that was a real puzzle and a real challenge.
Yeah,
But I think we found a way to do it where it is still Stranger Things, but it's in a, again, different format. Because also with a TV show, it's so visual. There's, not just fashions and cars and stuff, but there's music and like you see things on TV that they're watching,
hmm,
magazines, newspapers. To get the setting of the 80s,
yeah,
like all those things come together. So like how do you do that in a book where you can't see anything, you're just imagining it. So to be able to kind of put all that in without just dumping all this information on the reader. Oh, it's 1977
yeah,
so and so is president and this is in the news and this is on the like that took several different passes to get the info in the book that felt natural.
yeah,
Um, but again, it's that is why I like doing tie-in stuff as a versus my own stuff like Crawlspace, or any like you're on your own, you do your thing. The tie-ins, it's using a different part of your brain, your writer brain, to do stories, which it's still a book, it's still a whole novel, which has got a beginning and a middle and end, and you're
hmm,
telling your own story, but like it has to fit with everything that people know about that world.
yeah. Talking about the cinematic quality of your books, the back to Crawlspace, I could easily see Crawlspace as a streaming type um,
Oh man,
uh,
yeah,
series. I mean, it's fairly short, but that there's so much packed into that this short book it could easily be stretched across 6 or 8 hours to
Yeah.
to really grow the world and the
Mm.
spacecraft and everything that goes on the spacecraft and outside the spacecraft. There's so much there.
Well, it's interesting because, like, I wanted to write this story about isolation and claustrophobia, and so therefore the crew was always only going to be 6 or 7 people.
Hmm.
And if you think about it, like that book is set on this one medium-sized spaceship.
Hmm.
There's really maybe what, 4 rooms or
Yeah,
so,
I think
plus
so.
the
Yeah.
outside.
Yeah.
And I remember, like, when I'd finished it, I was going, yeah, this would be a great Netflix movie or something, isn't it? Because, like,
Yeah.
what, you just need like 4 sets and like 6 cast members, like no special effects. That'd be
That's
great. Like,
right.
surely you could do a good job. So, gosh, maybe one day that'll be.
Maybe.
But again, it
Uh,
was like it came out, that was accidental. It's like because I was telling the story I wanted to tell. Yeah, it's one of those things that I think that's when things happen organically like that, then that's kind of the best way
and
to do it for me.
when I was doing a little bit of research, digging into you, um, you've got a hidden talent for archery. Tell us a little bit about how
Oh
you
my
got
goodness.
into bows and arrows.
So I actually don't know. Okay, so I'm from New Zealand, but I moved to the UK in 2006. And the thing about we live in sort of the countryside a little bit, and you got all these country fairs, and they're in summertime, and they're usually around like got big country houses and castles and
Hmm.
things, and all very historic. For me, being from New Zealand's a new country, so this is all like, oh, exciting
Hmm.
old world stuff. But I'd always go to these things, and there'd be like an archery section. You have a go.
Yeah.
You pay $5 or something, and you get 5 arrows, and and it's the local club that wherever you're going that runs it, and they run it for the weekend, and you can have a go. And I always did it and enjoyed it, and then realized that I've got a local archery club. I just wondered if I did, and I did. So my wife got me like a beginner's course for my birthday. In the
Ah,
UK, yeah, there's all kinds of rules and regulations, but you have to pass a kind of beginner's course, and then you join there's like a national association,
ah.
because then you have like a little membership card which shows you've passed, safety and health and safety and
Yeah. Yeah.
insurance and things. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so I've been doing it for about a year now, and it's just fun, really. I mean, I'm not pretending I'm going to enter the Olympics anytime soon. Too
You're saying
old
you're
for a
not Robin
start.
Hood.
Not Robin Hood, no. But like, I just enjoy it, and like, it's a good thing because it's a sport, but it's just like a solo sport, I
Yeah.
guess, because you're on your own. I mean, obviously you have competitions and things, but like, it's all about yourself, and you're competing against yourself
Yeah.
every night you go. So for me, I quite enjoy that. I'm not really a football team, baseball team, sport person.
I got you.
I like to do my own thing.
So, what do you think, in your opinion, what do you think is one of the most underhyped books that's out there?
Oh my goodness. So there is a book called okay, yeah, it's called Veronica, and it's by an author called Nicholas Christopher, who's no relation to me. But it is about it's like there's a magical underworld in New York society, and there's a real place which I actually visited the last time I was there, the intersection of Waverly Place and Waverly Place. It's like it's a street that somehow intersects itself. And now it does that in real life because like it's a loop that goes around in a
Yeah.
circle. But like where a street intersects itself, and that's like a gateway to this magical underworld. And it's about a kind of a magician who he's looking for something in New York. It's a kind of like no one's ever heard of it. It's a magical urban fantasy. It's kind of a bit literary, so it's a bit sort of deep and meaningful. But
Mhm.
like Nicholas Christopher has got such a way with writing, with concepts. This magician, he's powered by the music of the planets. Like the
Oh,
the sound, he's powered by the sound of Saturn. It's like, what does that even mean? Like, it's just so. It's tricky. Like I love things like crime and thrillers, but then
Hmm.
I've kind of done a little bit of that in science fiction
Hmm.
because you can mash things together. Well, like Crawlspace is like science fiction horror because horror you can do in all different sorts of stories.
Yes.
Yeah, I like a kind of historical novel. I mean, what time period would you pick? I don't know. Uh, in the UK, well, I suppose no, well, but they're kind of folk horror, folk history. The
Yeah.
kind of like, yeah, old world, pre-industrial, and then you can mix in all kinds of, witches and witchcraft and
Yeah.
all that kind of ancient knowledge and ancient powers. But then that's just going back into science fiction fantasy, isn't it? See,
A
I
little
can't get
bit.
away from that. I just get dragged back in. Oh well.
If you were on a deserted island and you could take one book and one album, what
Mm.
would it be?
Okay, so for the book, I think that's quite easy for me. Okay,
Mhm.
so growing up in New Zealand, I used
Uh-huh.
to in the 80s. I'm a huge Doctor Who fan,
Mhm.
and what I did, well, with Doctor Who in those days, this is before the days of video recorders and DVDs and streaming and all that stuff. You'd watch it on TV and then it would be gone.
Mhm.
But Doctor Who has this big thing of books. So, a lot of the writers who wrote the TV episodes wrote novelizations of those stories,
Okay.
published by a publisher called Target. So we talk about the Target Doctor Who novelizations. One of the authors, Terence Dicks, is kind of a hero of mine.
Mhm.
And I met him. I was lucky enough to meet him, and it was amazing. But one of the books he wrote, Doctor Who and the Abominable Snowmen, which is a novelization of a second Doctor story, came out before I was born. This came out in the 70s, the early 70s, and one of the first ones I read. And like for me, it is just that kind of comfort read. It's like I probably know it inside out and back to front. I could probably recite half of it. Um, but it's a really good book. And he was the author that got me into writing because I read all the Terrence Dicks books I could, and I wanted to write books like Terrence Dicks. So that's my book to choose. Album. Goodness me, that would be so difficult. The problem is, if you choose a favorite album, I've got lots of favorite albums
Yeah.
that I probably haven't listened to in like 10 years because you know it so well.
Hmm.
So I don't know. So my favorite band is The Cure.
Uh-huh.
I would take their first album, which is called Three Imaginary Boys. So it's 1979,
Yeah.
78, 79. Completely different to their other
Hmm.
stuff. And people know The Cure, they know, like, this is not what if you haven't heard it, it's not what you expect at all
Hmm.
because it's quite different. So, but again, so actually, yeah, that's a favorite album that I could listen to on repeat
Yeah.
and
Oh,
actually not get sick of it. Whereas
yeah.
I've got other favorite albums where I actually probably don't want to hear them again because it's like, yeah, they're like, let me just have my memories of
Yeah.
those.
I understand. I mean, I totally. If there was an author or public figure, dead or alive, that you could talk to, who would it be?
Um, it's kind of tricky because I've met and I had lunch with Terrence Dicks, like I just said. So like
Yeah.
he's my number one. And he passed away a few years ago.
Uh-huh.
That's so difficult. Oh, actually, yeah, okay. So I am a big sort of film buff. I collect Japanese movies.
Oh.
Akira Kurosawa,
Uh-huh.
which I'm sure people know, famous Japanese film director, did things like Seven Samurai
Hmm.
and High and Low, Hidden Fortress. Hidden Fortress, sort of big inspiration for Star Wars.
Yeah.
And in fact, a lot of Kurosawa's direction was a big influence on people like George Lucas and Steven
Okay.
Spielberg. Um, so I would, if I could speak, I'm learning Japanese actually at the moment, but if I could speak more fluently, then I would love to hang out with Kurosawa
Oh, okay.
for a day. I mean, he died a long time ago, but
Yeah.
he's got such an important influence on things you don't even know. Modern Western cinema owes so much to it, and people don't even know. But that's fine because that's the evolution of a format. Like that's how movies work. And it's the
Yeah.
same with books. You could pick an author from 100 years ago and not realize that they had actually shaped so much of what we have today.
This is true. This is true.
Mm.
If our readers, I know you're based in the UK. Um,
Yeah.
is there a bookstore in the United States that has signed copies of your books or anything like that?
No, I've actually been trying to set that up. There's a couple of book. So yeah, I've been on book tours in the States, and there's a couple of stores,
Hmm.
East Coast and West Coast. Um, but like I always say, like you can reach out to me and see what I can arrange, or just support your favorite local store.
Yeah,
And the sad thing is, like, not everybody has a local store. So like, just get your book from your favorite place,
yeah.
and yeah, I do. Yeah, there will be signed copies around, but people can always reach out to me.
Okay. If our listeners want to connect with you on social media, where can they find you and what are your handles?
Yep. So I'm on Instagram as Adam Christopher Writer,
Hmm.
all one word. I'm on Blue Sky as adamchristopher.me. That's also my website, adamchristopher.me. It's got all my stuff. It's got
Okay.
Crawlspace. It's got Star Wars. I'm sort of, yeah, I am one of those people that spends way too much time on the internet, so I'm very easy to reach if people need to.
Oh.
I should be doing my work, but like, no, I'm hanging out
I
online.
understand. Well, good luck with your book that comes out March the 17th. Crawlspace, it's available from Tor Nightfire at everybody's favorite retailer, wherever you buy your books. Thank you to Sarah over at Tor Nightfire for arranging us talking today. I do appreciate that. You have anything to add?
No, it's just yeah, crawl space. So, well, it's funny, March 17th. It's my first non-tie-in book since 2018,
Oh,
which
wow.
sounds like I've disappeared. I've been doing
Mhm.
Star Wars and Stranger Things and World of Warcraft and Doctor Who, which like is
Yeah,
like for me that's the absolute dream come true. But also like I'm really excited to be back into like this is my stuff.
yeah.
Um, and yeah, I love science fiction. I love horror. I put the two together and got Space. Yeah, with a really kind of scary cover too.
It is
So
the
yeah,
cover that's creepy. I mean, I don't know
it's
how people can tell, but
it's
it's
like well,
spooky.
that's the thing. The more you look at it, the more you're like, oh, what is that?
And then
Yeah.
I saw look down here. It looks like it's writing, but it's not. It's just the drawing. But it looked like it was a
Mm.
hidden message in the drawing.
Oh,
And there may
maybe
be.
not.
I don't. I'll read. I'll look at it again closer.
Yeah,
But
maybe
this
it'd be
was
nice.
really good. I do appreciate the folks over at Tor for hooking us up. Thank you again for taking the time out of your day to visit with me. I wish you the best of luck with Crawlspace. I hope you become a repeat New York Times best-selling author.
Oh, thank you very much.
This is definitely best-selling material. I guarantee you that. So.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you for having me as well.